This episode is sponsored by Enviro-Clean Scotland.
Delivering innovative drainage, industrial and environmental solutions. Find out more at evcsl.com or call them on 01355 268 282. Welcome to another episode of the Let Me Be Frank podcast with myself, Simon Houston, Frank McAvennie.
How you doing?
And hello to all our new West Ham followers. We noticed, I don't know if you spotted this, but during the last few days, a lot of new West Ham followers started subscribing and a lot of comments. And there was a couple in particular that said, well, firstly, they were saying we need Frank and Tony back. Mm-hmm. Somebody was suggesting you two could be coaches for the strikers. And someone else said, lots more West Ham content, please.
Yeah.
So if there's an airline that wants to fly Frank and I down to London,
yeah,
and we'll sit there in the.
Yeah, Mr. Sullivan's got a plane, so he can send one up for us.
Aye, that's true. So
that'll happen now.
So we've got another treat. Is it a treat?
Yes,
it's a treat. Another treat for the West Ham fans. We get
and Celtic,
and Celtic as well. So you get 10 seconds to think about former Celtic and West Ham players and see if you can guess who it is. Right, your 10 seconds is up. Allen McKnight joins us.
How you doing, Simon? How you doing, Frank? You all right?
Yeah, good, mate. I'm good. Oh, good seeing you. I've not seen you since for a couple of weeks.
More of the Celtic fans be keen to watch me than the West Ham fans. About 20 odd years of doing a bit of hospitality down there, they've heard enough of me, I think.
Aye. Do you still got a warm reception down there?
Not bad at all. Any of the mistakes that were scar tissue seem to have all healed up now, and we've moved on from that.
Right.
The West Ham, the last term period for me wasn't as successful as the Celtic period. Obviously, picking up a few trophies along the way at Celtic always makes you more endeared in the memories of the fans than throwing in a few clangers at Upton Park.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to dwell on that. We want to dwell. We always like to dwell on the positives at Let Me Be Frank, don't we?
Yes.
So we'll get the Allen McKnightmare thing out the way first, then, right? No. How did that sit with you?
Oh well, it was a cup semi-final that we thought we could quite easily take out Luton, but it was played in two legs, which. Yeah. I think confused us a little bit. We played the first leg at home, and we set about set out our stall to try and not get beat instead of going out and putting Luton to the sword. But I remember the day after the match when they beat us 3-1, and there was a crash. An aeroplane had overshot the runway at Luton Airport and slid out onto M1.
Yep.
And the headlines of Allen McKnight throwing in a goal was bigger than the aeroplane crashing on the M1, which I thought was a little bit unfair. But
I remember that.
Over the years, they buried it, and forgive me, I think.
But we'll talk a wee bit about West Ham in a bit. But we obviously we've got you here, so we need to talk about 88.
Yeah.
And Frank was telling us before we started recording that you were his kind of partner in crime.
Him and one side and me, Joe Muller, sort of a thing on the other side. It was we used to go out quite a bit.
Well, the first season I was at Celtic, I was out on loan to Albion Rovers, but then the second season, Billy McNeill took over and pulled me straight into the first team fold. Not necessarily anticipating Pat Bonner's virus, but my real introduction into the first team was when Frank McAvennie joined us, and we got off a coach at the Audi garage that used to sponsor us, and it was a Tuesday night, and everybody was heading home. And Frank said to me, "Big man, where do we go on a Tuesday night?" And I'd picked the spots many a time, so I was able to guide Frank back into Glasgow and find the hot spots straight away, and we hit it off. Perhaps not as a playing partnership, but definitely a going out partnership.
Oh, that must have been music to your ears, Frank. Having somebody who also liked going out on a Tuesday night.
Somebody liked going out, yeah. But listen, we done it. We were good fun. We went out. Actually, we went out, and I don't know if you remember this. We get Christmas time, and we never. To be fair, we never had a drink. We had a game, and we never had a drink, and we had a couple of girls or whatever. Anyway, and I get into trouble with the gaffer. Gaffer brought me in. He's trying to find me, and I'm saying, "What are you find me for?" And he says, "You were out last night." I said, "Doesn't matter. I wasn't drinking." Still out in public to try to put it, but he couldn't find me because it was in my contract that I can't have a drink. 48 hours before a game. So he didn't say you can't go out. So me being the lawyer that I am,
you checked the fight, the small
yeah,
print.
I checked the small print. Yeah, I got to check with a lawyer.
Get Joe Beltrami on the case.
Yes, that was good. But I used to get fined. So it was a good night. Remember that Chinese at the park? We used to play football there as well. Rick and Glenn. There used to be a Chinese there, wasn't it? What was the name of that, Al?
Latest Chinese in the world. I don't think we ever went in before 2:30 in the morning.
we went in there. It was I can't. Rick and Glenn. It was in Rick and Glenn. It was an old Baldwin in Rick and Glenn. It was a beautiful restaurant.
Right.
Not that. Something else now. I sometimes see it when I go and play six-a-sides. But that's about it. It was good fun.
And you were telling us as well that Charlie Christie, Brian's dad, he was part of the
Why did Charlie get in with you and Anton? Charlie was staying with you and Anton Rogan.
Because there was some Inverness Charlie, so he was maybe kind of in digs, was it?
He was a young boy.
He did. He came down and Billy McNeill thought it would be better to introduce him to a couple of teammates and live with us. We had a 4-bedroom house that I had purchased, and he didn't really want to put him in digs. He thought he was old enough to come and stay with Anton and I, but it just became the Musketeers rather than the chaperones that we were supposed to be.
But I used to come back. I don't know what you done something to a room. There wasn't 4 rooms available, so one was all your stuff that was in it, and at any time we come back, I used to have to go into the young boy Charlie and say, "Out." Oh, Macca, out. I've made up your bed in the couch.
On the subject of Charlie Christie, I'm going to say something mildly controversial about Brendan Rodgers, right?
Why?
Because when he was Celtic manager first time round, and Ryan Christie really burst onto the scene, and he was fantastic for a couple of seasons. And Brendan Rodgers said, "Yeah, fans will stop talking about him as Charlie Christie's son, and they'll be talking about him in his own right as Ryan Christie." And I thought, I don't think Charlie Christie even got a first team game.
Nobody knew who Charlie Christie was.
Exactly. So I wonder whether Brendan was maybe kind of misremembering Charlie Christie's.
The only time Charlie was remembered was that him that stayed with Allen McKnight and Rogan.
Aye. and who? And can you remember who was that kept Charlie Christie out of the team?
Duh.
You.
Was it me? Was he a striker? Was it? I don't even know. There you go.
So we was Charlie's famous because he'd done a bit of managing, didn't he? He went up and managed.
He did, yes.
That's right. I think, and that's was Brendan Rodgers was making reference to. It definitely wasn't his playing career.
Aye, well, possibly that, but he was your understudy.
I can't remember.
But you like a bit like George Best.
It was a boy face. It was my understudy. You never get near the team either. But it was Mark McGee. We had me, Andy Walker, and Mark McGee. Aye. So there was 3
Charlie
of us.
Christie would have been in old-fashioned reserves in those days, though.
He'd have been, I don't know about that. Anyway, so it's...
You didn't really play in the reserves?
I did when I was coming back from an injury or something, yeah. You did. You had to play in it. And I didn't think it was bad. What do you think about that? We've had a conversation about that, Alan, about how football teams now don't have reserve games. And it didn't do us any good, any harm. When I was in a reserve game, the boys that were up, young boys up front, learned so much off me. In that one game. When it came to football, it was different. Because you're talking to them, you're telling them where to run. They're not getting that now.
Especially up in Scotland, Frank, playing for Celtic, it was competitive because I remember playing reserve matches against Old Firm games and having 11,000.
Well, I played one, Alan.
A reserve game.
35,000 was at Ibrox. 35,000 Wednesday afternoon. Never forget it. I was coming back from an injury, and who was it? Duncan Ferguson was coming back.
Right. Okay.
For his suspension and all that. It was torrential rain. It was pissing rain, and I thought I was at the wrong place. 35,000 of them.
We are giving you the chance to be part of the Let Me Be Frank podcast family by becoming one of our sponsors for as little as £99 a month. That's right, 99 quid a month, and your name could appear here on every episode of Let Me Be Frank podcast. And it's been going great guns since we started, 18 months ago now. Our numbers are going through the roof, social media, YouTube, the lot. People are subscribing in their thousands, and it's brilliant to see. And you can come along for the ride. So get in touch with us if you want to be a sponsor of Let Me Be Frank podcast. You can email us at lmbfpodcast@outlook.com. Give us a shout, and we can get back in touch with you and get it sorted. So, before we go on, I want to talk about growing up in Northern Ireland. I want to talk about distillery and Anton Rogan and your friendship and all that. We'll do that in a wee second, but a quick reminder to everybody. Number one, if you were at that reserve game Frank's talking about, get in touch. I'd like to hear about that, what the score was and so on. Also, a reminder too, every week until the end of the month, we are giving away £50 worth of vouchers for Mr. Singh's India in Glasgow. So if you're a curry fan, drop a comment in the comments in this, below the video, whatever as you call it.
I was in there last night. It's the best curry, and Alan will tell you, we spent many a time in there. It's the best curry in Glasgow. So
just drop us a wee comment, say I'd love your £50 worth of vouchers for Mr. Singh's, and we'll get in touch. And by the way, if your name's Brendan McCarthy, obviously you'd never have to eat again in your life, mate, because we've been trying to contact you to tell you you're a winner and you're not getting back to us. So the ship has sailed, Brendan, unless you get in touch very quickly. Right, and also hit subscribe, everybody. Follow us on YouTube. Our numbers are really impressive compared to where they were even just a few months ago. Delighted with it. Follow us on social media, all
quite
that
right,
usual
because
stuff.
we're good.
It's been great. Listen,
we're good.
People keep calling it the best podcast on the internet. You know, even better than like Joe Rogan and all that stuff. You know, so aye, exactly. No, Anton Rogan. So.
Anton Rogan.
Aye.
I spoke to Anton. I told him you were coming on there. He was asking for you. Tell him I'm asking for him. You know what Rogi's like. He'll not do a podcast.
He doesn't like the public eye, Rogi.
No.
He doesn't want to be in the public eye.
He says, he says, Alan, you'll like this. He says, I'll sit and talk to you all night in a pub. He says, but I'll not do a podcast for half an hour.
So, well, that's an interesting point actually, because if you look at the squad photograph from the centenary season, I think there's only just about 3 or 4 left that haven't come on this podcast.
Yeah, Big Mick, Alan, that's it. Alan's got it, Rogie, and Matt McGee, Mick McCarthy, Anton Rogan, Owen Archdeacon. There's a young lad in the middle row, left-hand side, whose name escapes me. We'll come back to Shepherd.
Might be Tony Shepherd, actually. Very possibly Tony Shepherd. Clearly, we're not going to get the late great Tommy Burns, which is heartbreaking when you think about it, because Tommy would have been a fantastic guest. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
How was he with you, Alan? Tommy?
Tommy was fine. Tommy would sit beside me in the changing rooms. Obviously, Tommy would always sit number 2. He'd be next to the goalkeeper, and I remembered my first league match was an Old Firm game, and we used to go through a routine. You put your socks and your shin pads on, and have a little walk about the changing rooms and have a drink of water and a bit of crack. And you would take a certain amount of time to get ready, and then when it was normally about 20 past 2, you'd be ready to go out and do your warm-up sort of thing. And on that particular match, Tommy was sitting beside me, and he said, "Are you all right, Alan? Are you nervous? I mean, your first game against Rangers and that." And I said, "No, I'm calm as you like, Tom, not a problem." And he went, "Why have you got your kit on? It's only 1:45. And I was like, "Shit, the body clock's out of sync here completely." He goes, "You better take that kit off," because you got another hour and a half to go before we play. So he calmed me down without even knowing it, but he was a star, and right to even our double win in a cup match. Tommy was the man. I thought Tommy was good living and didn't want to drink or anything. Tommy had organised a whole load of alcohol for his house for a shindig afterwards, so that we wouldn't get in any trouble. And once we'd won the double, everybody was back to Tommy Burns' house for a massive party.
Apart from us, we went out first.
Yeah, well, that was on the pitch. On the pitch after the game, that's when he gave his famous speech about they're there and they're always there. You know.
Well, I said to him when he was crying,
and
I'm saying to him, "Why are you crying?" And he says, "You don't know." He says, "This is so important to Celtic supporters. In 100 years, they'll remember us."
Aye.
You know, and I was like,
"You're filling up at the moment."
Tommy was brilliant. Tommy was wonderful, wasn't he? Great lad.
That first game, Alan, though, before we carry on talking about Tommy Burns, but am I right in thinking that was 1-0 Billy Stark?
It was big Starkey, the ghost, popped in at the back post and put one away. Yeah, and
that was the Graham. It
was quite surreal for me, because I said I hadn't even watched an Old Firm game, never mind played in one, so I didn't really get nervous because I didn't know what was coming my way.
Yeah. I remember another keeper done that. Another keeper done that, didn't even know him. Guy called Julie Andrews.
And
he said to Ruffy, Alan Ruffy tells he wishing him all the best when he's getting on the bus at Celtic Park. And Ruffy says, "All the best." And he says, "Ruffy, I don't know what all the fuss is about. Robbie says, what, 20 to 6, he knew what it was about. He says, coming off that, but getting on that bus again, we get beat 5-1.
5-1. And that's sometimes I have a bit of sympathy for you, Alan, because if people think of that period, they think of Pat Bonner understudies. So obviously, centenary season was yourself, and you were outstanding. The following year was Ian Andrews.
Aye,
it was 88-89, and there was a 5-1 game.
Well, that was the one I scored.
So the 5-1 and the 4-1. Chris Morris scored a free kick.
No, I scored, and it was 1-0, and then I got took to hospital.
Aye, but was that the 4-1 game or the 5-1?
5.
So Chris Morris must have scored his free kick in the 4-1 game then.
Aye.
Celtic historians put us right if we've got that wrong.
Yes, I think it was 5-1 because by the time I got to hospital, it was 4-1.
Yeah.
So there you go.
A young boy from Northern Ireland gets to play for Celtic. Was you living the dream?
How did that come about?
Was I living the dream? Well, probably the side of Belfast that I played my football on. I might have been selected to play for Rangers before. That's
what I was subtly getting round to asking, Alan, about your upbringing and who you might have had a sympathy for when you were younger.
Well, I lived in the country. My dad had a business, and he bought a premises out in the country to make it work. And so we had a sort of a broad perspective of growing up in the country, and we weren't bigoted in that respect. We weren't tunnel visioned. So for me to play in sport was my dream, and the fact that Celtic come calling. I upset a few of my pals who played the flute, but I definitely wasn't thinking twice about it whether I should sign or not sign. That was for sure.
Yeah. But you followed Anton Rogan just a few months after he arrived. Is that right? Through Distillery.
Well, we played at the same club side in Northern Ireland, Distillery, and Jim McGilton was there as well. Mal Donaghy was there. Kenny Whiteside, big Norman Whiteside's brother. So we had a strong side. So we gathered a following of scouts that come and watched, and there were the Scottish scouts were paying a lot of attention to Anton. And I happened to get picked up in the backdraft. They were watching me as well, and then I was asked to come across and do a trial for Hibs and also for Celtic. So I've got to thank Anton for that respect. He got people to come and watch the game, which I got scouted on.
But that's what you do that's when you're lucky. It depends who's there, and if you play well, you knew there were scouts there, so that's well played. That's well done.
Big Rogie, but Rogie was hard to convince that he was going to be a footballer. He when he was living with me every night, he would come home and he was more interested in contacting his mum and dad and speaking to his girlfriend in Ireland. And I said, Rogie, you're in the first team tomorrow. And he went, oh, I don't know why I'm here. I can't believe this. He says, I'm not that sort of person. I don't like the limelight and everything else. But he done well for Celtic over the years. Fantastic.
Brilliant. Absolutely, totally. I mean, you think back to, he was a cult figure, wasn't he? And a lot of Rangers fans would always poke fun at him because they always thought he had a mistake in him and all that. But my God, you think about that centenary final as well and that cross for your header. Yep. And the way he got to the byline.
The gaffer loved him and Chris because the two of them played to a system that was sometimes we like to play 3. Yeah. And with Rogie and Chris going forward, it was incredible the stamina that the two of them had, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. You couldn't have played that way if it wasn't for they two. Yeah. We couldn't have, the full backs now, would have struggled. But Rogie and Chris were great.
Yeah, but the Rangers, their big spend had already started under Graham Souness in 87 and 88. But I think we baffled them with energy and you say athleticism and also pace that season. They come to grips and come to terms with that. For the next 9 years, they proved that they're a stronger side and a stronger squad. Obviously, having overspent slightly, but we definitely we shocked them with our pace and energy and athleticism on that season for sure.
Yeah, if you think back to that point. Early in that centenary season, they had obviously just won the league and everybody expected them to romp it again. No. And then as you have said a few times in this podcast, Big Billy took the decision. We need to sign Celtic supporters.
Yeah, well, he done that and he said that to me. And apparently I didn't realise how much, but speaking to Tommy Craig and that, how much he fought for me to get me and all that. And it was a big ask because it was a lot of money for Celtic to pay at that time. But he says, well, apparently one of the questions was, will he win as a league? And he says, yeah. So he stuck his neck out, and I'll be always grateful for him for that. Yeah. But I'll never forget how much, when I came up, I just scored 28 goals in the Premiership. And he said to me, you're not fit enough. And I was like, what? He says, you're not fit enough to play for Celtic. And I was like, you're joking. So he battered me. He absolutely battered me. And I understood what he meant, because you understand this, Alan. He says, down in England, they want to take the ball off you, which they do. They think they're better than you down in England. The defenders know that. Everyone thinks they're better than you. In Scotland, they know they're not as good as you, so they'll just take you out. Mm-hmm. And you had to be fit constantly to get out the way of some of the tackles.
Yeah.
Which was no a problem to me. So, but I understood with the gaffer, and he got me fit, and I don't think there was anyone, and certainly not in the league, that were fitter than us. And there was nobody. There was not one team fitter than what we were.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anyone closer than what we were, to be honest with you. We were such a close knit.
Yeah. It wasn't dogged that we did, keep fit and lung busting runs or anything like that there. It was all done naturally with the ball and being on the training ground for a good period of time. I remember the training being under Billy McNeill. I remember the training was good fun.
It was good.
It wasn't like you were working just to be fit. I think the fit come naturally, which was the clever thing.
Yeah.
I think what he says was, but if he didn't do it, if you don't do this right, you're going running.
Yeah.
And that was enough for all of us to do it right. So it was good fun.
So for 2 or 3 of the games against Rangers, the opposite number in the goals opposite you was Graham Roberts, largely. I remember.
Yeah. Eventually,
on more than one occasion. More than one occasion, because also there was the Goldilocks, the Three Bears game, the 2-2 draw, which Frank had a wee bit of an involvement in, but also the New Year 2-0 game. Roberts was in goals for the second goal.
Big Lex. Need Chris Woods.
So he went off injured?
He went off injured, yeah.
Aye. Why did they not have a sub-goalkeeper in those days?
Because they only got 2 subs, and goalkeepers are idiots.
Fair enough.
No, there was always somebody.
I wouldn't have minded.
There was always somebody thought they were a keeper, Alan, wasn't there? There was always somebody on the pitch thought they could go in goal, so they took a chance, didn't they? The players, the managers took chances. Rather than have a goalkeeper, they just put 2 players, and I think that's what it was.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the most sensible transformations in football that there's a goalkeeper allowed to be on the bench, because it's as much as it's a team game, it's a very individual position, the goalkeeper position. Not so much when we started out, because I remember at training at Barrafield with Big Packy, and we didn't even have a goalkeeper coach. It was just me, Packy, and at the time Peter Latchford. We used to do a wee bit of diving about ourselves. Big Packy was easy to took on. We just say to Packy, I've never done goalkeeper training before. Can you show me how to do those exercises again? And he loved it, Packy. He'd be in the mud till the cows come home. Me and the cat used to stand and watch him and take the piss out of him.
You remember him telling us a story that him and his brother, I think, would play Gaelic football as kids, and that's how he was so good at barging people and coming out for crosses, because he would always be competing against his brother in the back garden.
What a lot of nonsense that was.
Was it?
He was scared to come out. He was called Dracula, wasn't he, when he came out for crosses? That's what we called him, Dracula.
What are you doing down there, Frank?
I think I found a leak.
You have found a leak?
Yes.
Wow. Well, I know the very people that can sort that out for you. Our new sponsor, Enviro-Clean Scotland, are perfect dealing with leaks, blockages, anything to do with your drains. They're brilliant, aren't they?
They're very good. You can't miss them. Huge trucks.
Big presence. You see their vans and their tankers everywhere. But the important thing is they don't just deal with the massive operations, the big industrial units, factories and so on. They also deal with domestic issues as well.
Small leaks.
Frank's found a wee leak. Blocked sinks, overflowing gutters, grease traps. They'll sort it quickly with modern kit and properly trained teams. So it's not just huge factories and large industrial drains. They'll come out to your house as well. No job is too small, whether it's a stubborn blockage or a messy overflow. Enviro-Clean gets it fixed without stress. It's a fast, reliable service, and they've been keeping Scotland flowing smoothly since 1997. And get in touch if you do have any kind of small drainage problems, whether it's a domestic house or a small business as well. Or maybe if you're a football manager and there's a leak in the dressing room. There's been a few of them in your dressing rooms over the years, Francis.
A few leaks, yes.
But Enviro-Clean Scotland. So if you want to find out more, visit evcsl.com. And Frank, what should people tell them?
Tell them Frank's it.
On those games then, so the 2-2 draw at Ibrox when Frank ended up all of the newspapers for being in court. What's your recollections of that game? So we've had a couple of guys on Andy Walker was in the pitch, Peter Grant was in the pitch. The recollection from a lot is that when Frank was fighting with the three Rangers players, his teammates were nowhere to be seen.
He's away out of bounds. He's far too far away from any of us to help him. He'd gone in a hopeless back pass to Chris Woods, and then nothing happened, and the pair of them looked at each other, and until Butcher came in and pushed Frank, it wasn't really a bad situation, because up until that, all they'd done really is held each other or put a hand to each other's face without striking each other, and then Terry Butcher made it much more volatile than what it was, and that's when there was a few of us arrived to try and help Frank at that stage, but my excuse was I was far too far away, Frank. I would have helped you, mate.
Well, I turned round and seen Granty running away, and I thought, time to get in.
But my recollection of that was not so much the game, but it was the court case, because Frank and me were out the night before the court case. And we were a bit short of time, so I had to go to the court with Frank, but I didn't have a suit. So Frank gave me one of his suits, and Frank's suits aren't as long in the leg as my suit. So I was standing outside the courtroom with a pair of 31-inch inside leg trousers on when I should have had a 34. It wasn't the prettiest sight to be seen. We were there to get Frank off, but Frank was innocent, and the Bears were all guilty.
Aye, and that's why your trousers were at half mast.
Yes, thinking of them. It was brilliant.
Oh, that's great. Where were you the night before? Can you remember?
Was it a court case? Was it not if I remember right, it was I had to go and get charged at the police.
It was Procurator Thistle, was it?
It was a process. I had to go and meet. Billy phoned me and he says, I can't, I'm pissed. And he says, who's with you? I says, Bombers. And he says, get him to drive. So I had to give my suit.
I would have been a Monday morning. We would have been at the Cotton Club on Sunday night, I would have said.
Yeah. The Cotton Club?
Yeah.
Which one? The one in Paisley?
No.
The one in Glasgow as well?
No.
Paisley was on the hill. Paisley was Monday night, Simon.
Aye.
Paisley was Monday night.
Yeah.
Cotton Club, Sucky Hall Street was Sunday night.
Yeah.
Thursday night was Henry Africa's.
I never went to Henry Africa's.
So see, Monday.
I never went to Henry Africa's. I stayed in. I was a good boy on a Thursday.
Was Monday in Paisley Toledo Junction by any chance?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
I'll tell you about
Bennett's. See, Dave used to go to Bennett's on a Tuesday.
Frank, I only went one night.
I
went one night. Henry Africa's. And we played a reserve game for Celtic, and it was the Thursday before the cup final, the Centenary Cup final. And I've come off the pitch and said to the lads, last game of the season, lads, who's hitting Henry Africa's tonight? And the boys were all going, yeah, we're all having a bit of that. We're going with the big man to Henry Africa's. I had a gold pass to get us all in. And I came into the changing rooms, and Tommy Craig was standing in there, and he was away at Seamill with the first team. I said, Tommy, what are you doing here? And he says, I've come to take you down to Seamill. I said, oh, Tommy, come on. It's the last match of the season. The boys are all going to Henry Africa's for a few beers. And Tommy was in his silver and green Celtic tracksuit with his black and white Sambas on. And he came with us for 2 drinks, so I could have a couple of drinks with the lads before he took me down to Seamill. And then off we went, and the rest was part of Celtic's history. It
would all been saying, who's that guy with the Celtic truck? The old guy with the Celtic trucks.
In the corner, he stood in the corner, and he had a couple of some non-alcoholic drinks. He never had a wee drink. Tommy did he? Didn't like it.
Oh, but, I didn't like it.
We made up for it.
Oh,
he was good. He let me go.
So the cup final, Kevin Gallagher's goal. I must have watched that goal, I don't know, 300 times. I still can't work out whether he hit it with his left or his right foot.
Left, he hit it with his left. I think Allen was waiting on him hitting it with his right.
Is that right?
But to be honest,
it's that once in a lifetime shot.
The clearance was poor. We were on the half turn, and so he just his first 3 or 4 steps, because normally Big Roy was pacey. Nobody could have done Big Roy for pace, but he got Roy on the half turn, and he got a yard on him. And I think in that respect, it made him hit it early as well. I didn't think he was hitting it at that stage, Frank. I thought he was going to take another touch, but he pinged it early. Caught me flat-footed, but
it was a lovely finish.
Good finish, yeah.
Because doing that with the outside of the left foot, because just when you look at the images, because on those days they didn't have 10,000 cameras that they've got now, you can see it from every angle.
Roy was catching him. Another step. I think Roy might have blocked it because he was the slow big Roy.
So, from a goalkeeper's perspective, getting into those final 10 minutes and still being 1-0 down, the relief, I suppose, for what this man did in the last 15 minutes, I suppose. What's your recollections of that?
The Celtic fans give Frank a lot of credit for scoring 2 goals, but I give a lot of credit to Billy Thompson. I think Billy Thompson give Frank one of them as an assist from Billy.
Do you know what happened? Actually, Dingus Mark had gave him a nudge.
Was that the header?
Did he?
The header across. So it wasn't a foul or nothing, but Billy was.
At least he didn't hit him with his ass. If he had hit him with his ass, he'd have got a free kick.
He'll be travelling. No, I gave him a little nudge, and it just so it came over him. And I think it was Hegarty. I think it was. I came from behind. He thought Tomo was going to get it or touch it, and it just came flying over. So you've got to prepare for unexpected.
I don't think you can underestimate what was achieved in that game. Well, Dundee United a year earlier in a European final. They were a fantastic European team. Really, really good. Really good side, full of European class players. Hegarty and Airy, all these kind of names. And when they went 1-0 up, a lot of people thought that's it, and then they didn't.
It was the same as
do you remember the semi-final against Hearts?
I do remember it. I
wasn't playing. Packy was playing in the semi-final, and I was sitting in the stand with Pierce O'Leary, and we were 1-0 down. And Pierce and I was thinking we're out of the cup. We both had a chance to play in the final if we get through. So obviously we're cheering the team on, and then we nicked the goal with like 3 minutes to go, and we're thinking, fantastic, that's the draw, and we could be featured in the replay here. By the time we get down from the stand down to the side of the pitch, Roy Aitken had picked up the ball and put it on the centre spot and drove the team forward to go and get the winner. And they took the winner in the 90 minutes. They didn't even go to extra time. And for me, that was a closer call than the actual final itself, even though that was quite close.
Sure. Well, they were taking, because I was having not a good game in the semi-final, and they took Andy off. The gaffer took Andy off, and I'm thinking, Matt McGee, come on. He says, no, you're through the middle. I says, Dingus, you come through the middle. I'll do better out in the wing. And he says, no, the gaffer wants you in the middle. So we just I went out in the wing. And if you remember, I just lobbed the ball up in the air and Henry dropped it. Thanks, Henry Smith. So, it was a sunny day, so it was one of them. He didn't like boys coming out of the sky, so it was, that was equalising then. And then we got the winner, which was, but it was nothing new. We scored a lot of goals in the 91st and 90th minute, and people kept saying, if he'd have played 90 minutes, we'd have won. So what? The game's there until the referee blows the whistle. You've got to keep it going.
Here, I just noticed something, and looking at your career stats, you played in South China as well?
Yes, Simon got me or...
Oh, that must have been fun, the two of you. Were you there at the same time?
Yes.
Oh, dear.
Yes, he brought me over. He got the guy to come on and negotiate a price with me, and I didn't want to go. And I kept asking for the earth, and he's going on, and they cut me down, but it turned out it was no bad. It was not bad. The football was terrible, wasn't it, Alan?
Very low standard of football. Yeah. It got better because they increased the amount of overseas players that was allowed to play. When you were there initially, I think it was only 3, and then they put it out to 7 in the squad and 5 on the pitch at any one time. So it just brought more and more
How long were you there
European
for?
ability.
How long did you stay for?
I was 2 years. They offered me another contract to stay, but I got married the year I moved out there. My wife she was starting to get a bit fed up with it. And then Liam Brady was at Brighton at the time, and Liam had said to me there was a contract for me at Brighton if I came back. Although things changed before I got to complete that, but that was my incentive. I wanted to get back to the UK and start playing over here again. But it was a great couple of years we had over there.
Yeah, social life good.
Well, I got over. They were all going. When you were all going to see the Simply Red concert, and I got on. I couldn't get a ticket, so I phoned a promoter back in London, and I got his old backstage. Remember Ralphie Milne? We went to the after party, and Ralph Milne
never buy a drink, Ralphie.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. But you know how he played with Man United.
That's right. Aye.
And I'm saying, I'll get you him on. I'll introduce you to Mick. So we're all there, and I says, Mick, you'll know this guy. And he went, nah. And he says, Ralph Milne played with Man United. Nah. So of course, we got us all night. We slaughtered. Ralph, never too tight to mention all that. Never. It was all every song was all about Ralphie. We absolutely battered him that night, but it was good fun.
I didn't realise he was out in South China too.
Yeah, it was a good crowd, wasn't it? It was a good crowd, but it was for me. The problem with me was they didn't grasp the meaning of winning and losing, and they didn't blame drink on a bad performance, which was not really good for me. You know, there was no incentive for me not to go out and get drunk. So, but it was good fun. It was good. I enjoyed my time over there. I was over there a couple of months and then came back.
The only incentive was the price of the booze.
It's like incredible, wasn't it?
It was I think it was about £12 a pint even back then.
I know.
So yeah.
It was. I was getting.
No wonder Ralph was hiding in the toilets when it was his round. It was normally about £200 a round.
But when we went there, it was still British, and it was. And most of the people that owned clubs were from London or from Glasgow, so I sort of attended to know most of them. So I got us in quite a few places, and Ralphie had organised a tour, and everywhere that he took me into, we get free booze. So Ralphie was the man. So that was a good night, if I can remember rightly. Yeah.
So let's give a wee shout out to the West Ham fans are following us. So do you, obviously you said earlier that you do a wee bit of
ambassador
and so on. So what's your take on what's happening this season? Another good result last weekend against Burnley, back-to-back wins. A bit of a bit of confidence.
I think there's a legacy of when we were changing manager and the fans. Honestly, when you speak to a lot of the West Ham fans, they're not stupid. Well, they're not stupid football fans. They're actually got quite a lot of knowledge. And when they wanted to change the manager from David Moyes to another manager, they didn't want another manager who was going to play the same way. So they were disgruntled at the first choice. We thought Graham Potter might be the answer because what he had done at Brighton. But I think Graham Potter's maybe proved now that the organisation at Brighton was more to do with their success than maybe he was, because he hasn't been successful at Chelsea and he definitely wasn't successful at West Ham. So we'd really got ourselves in a pickle because what we wanted wasn't obtainable mid-season, and we were very lucky that Nuno Espirito Santos was available after walking away from Nottingham Forest, whatever way he did it. And I think he's a good steadying force. It's going to be an uphill battle for sure, but I think he's got broad enough shoulders to do it, and he looks like he's enthusiastic enough, and he looks like he's got the heart of the club in his mind as well. When you see that he's playing Freddie Potts, who's come into the side now, Callum Wilson's back in as a centre forward, he's going to play a more understandable style of football, which I think the West Ham fans have already started to take to. We're not going to be dynamic. We haven't got the squad to be dynamic, but we can definitely play with a little bit of flair and not as mundane as maybe some of the games that David Moyes put on the park.
When he started playing left backs at right back and right backs at left wing, I was a wee bit concerned. I thought he'd lost the plot. I don't know why he'd done that for a few games.
Most people did, Frank, as well, but I think it's a thing that they do in Europe quite a bit. They play with inverted fullbacks to suit the wingers like Jack Grealish and even Jared Bowen, when they cut inside, and Mo Salah, they always cut inside, so they play the inverted fullbacks, which is fine if you've got a very experienced fullback. He can cross over and play in that position, but when he did it with a 19-year-old, it wasn't well received by the fans at all. I think they thought he'd thrown the young lad under the bus, but he's corrected his ways now, and there's a little bit of luck in football too, and to get a home win and back it up again this Saturday with another home win against a relegation rival of ours in Burnley, then I think we've got a little bit of breathing space now going into the next couple of games.
Nah, because there's a few tough fixtures coming up.
The tough fixtures are no the ones that I'm bothered about, because West Ham usually do well against them. It's the ones like your Burnleys.
Yeah, the Forest.
That's the ones that they normally fall. So I think they'll put up 2 wins. I think Paqueta's playing with it's like a sort of a relief he's got. As if he's got something off his shoulders. I'm not going to say betting and all that, but you know what I mean. He's playing with freedom, whether the manager's giving him that or not. And I think it's just Wilson's a centre forward. We've not had a centre forward for. When was the last time we played with an out and out striker?
Well, they bought the big German lad, Fulkrug.
Well, he's not a striker.
He tends to be running around and flicking it and stuff. Whereas what we wanted Callum Wilson to do was to give us territory, to get the ball, hold up the ball, and get players to come and join in. And he's been fantastic. I mean, you know what it's like, Frank. Yeah. He doesn't have to win the ball. He just has to put the centre halves off, and he's still physical in that. I watched him with Keith Robson, and Keith Robson used to love an aerial battle. And Keith Robson said to me on Saturday, he said, "You watch him. All he does is he gets in and around the centre half and makes it uncomfortable. The centre half doesn't want to head it because he knows he's going to get battered." And he's doing things like that for us, which we haven't had anything like that since Antonio got injured. So it's been completely different now, and we're able to play in a different part of the park again, which is great.
Yeah, when I was watching, because I get taught a long time ago how to deal with centre halves, and because I wasn't the biggest, and when I seen centre halves just getting it down and playing, and nobody challenging them, nobody getting near them. I'm thinking, there's more to just scoring goals for a centre forward, and I think Wilson's got that, and I think I think if you keep him fit, the boy Falkirk will not get back in, because I don't rate the boy. I'm sorry, fortunes he's more on the treatment table. Sick note, he's a new sick note, isn't he? Yeah, every week he's injured. So. Yeah, but it's a completely different style of football. He has scored goals. His CV says he's got a goal in him, but he's not the dogged sort of territory winner that Callum Wilson is. That's what we need.
I'd like to talk about your international career as well. Now, you said earlier on in the interview that from where you were in growing up in Northern Ireland, all the kind of stuff wasn't really on your radar. So you weren't particularly, one way or t'other, as it were. Was being a Celtic player playing at Windsor Park ever an issue?
I
know for some it was.
2 years. 2 years previous, I'd been in the Cup at Windsor Park, singing the Billy Boy songs myself. And whether one or two of them remembered me or didn't remember me, but they knew my allegiance and they knew my religion. And I had no problem at all. First match I played was well received as Ireland's number one. A different story for Anton, because Anton's background was different, and Anton was going to find it quite difficult to play at Windsor Park because any time he walked on when we played against Linfield, Anton would have been picked upon because of where his family was from and the part of Belfast that he grew up in. Mm-hmm. But Anton played on the, funny enough, talking about inverted fullbacks, the first match Billy Bingham put him on as sub, and Anton played as a right back. and I can't remember who we were playing at the time, but Anton decided to put the first player that he come up against, put him into the second row of the crowd. And very quickly, the Northern Ireland fans thought, well, if he's going to do that for us, he can be one of us. So Anton became a legend of Windsor Park as well as Celtic Park, which was great. But never had any issues for me. I was again, middle of the road guy that nobody really bothered to try and antagonise or encourage either way.
Possibly similar to maybe Martin O'Neill when he played for Northern Ireland too. He was,
Martin O'Neill was in there. Michael,
Lenny play.
We'd some good players go through the Northern Ireland team. We never had 11 at any one time. It was always we had a good 5 or 6, and thankfully when I played, we had a good back line when John McClellan and Al McDonald and even Marty Donaghy was in. Mal Donaghy was in there, and they made it easy for a goalkeeper. And so look forward to games, even though we were minnows. It was fantastic to play for Northern Ireland. I mean, I don't think many teams got any more than a goal past us.
Was Jimmy Nicholl on the team with you there, Alan?
Jimmy Nicholl decided to step down that season. My first game was against Yugoslavia in Sarajevo, and Jimmy had travelled with the squad, but Jimmy had discussed this with Billy Bingham on the way out, that he would be part of the Northern Ireland squad, but he wanted to be on the bench only. He didn't want to be a starter. So Gary Fleming, little guy that played for Nottingham Forest, Gary Fleming stepped in as right back. And Gary was having a good season, and Forest were also playing well. Yeah. So Gary was an automatic replacement for... Good. And then we had Nigel Worthington at left back. So still very, very solid back line.
So finally, do you get up here often? Do you get a chance to team up with the boys of 88 much? Your big anniversary in 2 or 3 years' time?
No, it's a long way down to London, and don't get to see them at all. Unfortunately, we had a couple of dinners. We had a great trip to Dubai with the Celtic Supporters Club in Dubai once. It was great to get everybody back together again. But other than a couple of dinners in Glasgow, don't get to see the boys enough really, because it's funny. There might be a lot of years under the bridge, but it always seems like yesterday when we get to talk about it again.
I'll bet.
We all met up a couple of months ago, Moisey and all that, we all met up, and it was just, Alan, honest to God, it was like going back in time. It's just straight away, they just start slaughtering you, and it was walking into the dressing room on a Monday morning. It was pretty fun.
Remember asked Andy Walker if there was a centenary team WhatsApp group. And Frank said no, and Andy says there is. It's just that Frank's no in it.
Well, I got caught out with Andy Walker. And, we had a centenary dinner one night in Glasgow, and I remember I went up to the bar to get myself another drink, and I came back and I was standing talking to Andy for about 10 minutes before I realised it was one of his brothers. He's got about 5 brothers, and they all look the bloody same.
It was good. I seen him a couple of weeks ago down in London, didn't I? He came to see me in that tent. Was it WTC? Where was that?
Aye. A friend from there. I got a message from Colin there. Yeah, not far from where I live. So they were doing a boys of 86. Frank and TC got together, and I thought a lot of those lads that I was sitting with, they all have seats in the Forge Lounge at West Ham. So I knew they were attending. So I just thought I butted my way in and thought, come and see if you're still funny, Frank.
Well, as we always say when we have a guest on Zoom, we always say, if you're ever in Glasgow, pop in and we can have another chat face to face. That'd be great.
It'd be great, Alan.
But we'll leave it there. Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Brilliant. Allen McKnight, Celtic legend. It's been a very, very important year in the history of the football club.
Yeah, never be forgotten, mate.
Absolutely.
Well, I got the medals out the other day. They were in a brown paper bag underneath the stairs, and the mother-in-law's put them in a frame. So I'll never forget now. I get to see them every night.
Is that the brown paper bag Thatcher gave you? The envelope.
I couldn't believe that. She was the guest of honour, Maggie Thatcher. There's nobody in Glasgow like her. She might as well have had Ali McQuaid come and give the trophy out.
Right, we'll leave it there. Allen McKnight, thanks again for joining us. Absolute pleasure. Al. And we will join everyone else. We'll see you all again soon for another episode of Let Me Be Frank podcast. Remember to hit subscribe.
Yes,
and
free.
It's free to do it. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.